Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Catunquit Chronicles, which has been broadcast and developed here in the island of Catunquit in our studio. We acknowledge the custodians of the land where we are broadcasting from today, including the Narragansett Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I'm your host, James Allen, and I'm joined here most weeks, and this week by the extraordinary adventurer, extreme sport enthusiast, and all-around great gal, Ashland, Comorack. Good morning, Ashland. Are you awake this fine morning?
I am. I just came from the coffee shop.
You did? Oh, which coffee shop did you frequent this morning, Ms. McCormick?
I went to Peace of Tranquility and the Catunquit Bakery.
You did both, huh?
Yep.
I think the view is best from the West Ferry, though, seasonally, of course, before they put all those boats in the way.
The boats are ruining your view?
Yeah, the boats really ruin my view in the winter because they're all on the, those dock spaces. Well, not dock spaces, what are they called? They're on the things where you hold them up. What are those called? Struts or some sort.
The stands.
Ah, you know all the language. Well, it sounds like a busy morning you had. You went both places this morning.
Mm-hmm. I rode around on my e-bike.
Cool.
Yep.
Do you brew your own, or what are you doing there?
Yeah. I mean, I brew my own usually and bake something delicious before Stuart even awakens. I'm not really that reliant on the local establishments.
Oh, those places are for the weak and the untalented.
I'm not saying that. I just prefer to know where my calories are derived from each day. And, it's hard to stay fit as we age, so got to keep an eye on that stuff.
I'm with you on all accounts. I just don't have any beehives like you do, or I'd be as busy as you are each day. Oh, boy. Question. When you go to the coffee shops in Catunquit, have you ever run into, like, a really surly barista?
On occasion.
Oh, why don't we go to commercial break? Then I'll read some of my observations of late while buying a daily load of Colombian Bold at Fran's coffee shop. You know Fran's.
Corner of Simpson and White Horse Road, near the Catunquit Main Street Cafe, right?
I think you have that one dead on. You're the GPS of Catunquit Chronicles.
I know my way around.
Well, I should honor our sponsors first. I always like to do that. And, ironically, this week we're sponsored by Peace of Tranquility, the coffee shop that serves up a nice dose of nice each time you visit. We have coffee every which way you like. Pastries that will take you back to a time when people cared about pastry. The velvety texture, the creamy sense that you're eating something of value. We have sandwiches, smiles, and we'll bring your order to your table. At Peace of Tranquility, the baker visits your table and often expresses himself in short and recognizable Italian phrases. Make POT, Peace of Tranquility, part of your daily constitution. A daily constitution. Does that have anything to do with daily ablutions? Ryder's Riding Mower Service. Ryder fixes riding mowers like mad all day long. If your clutch shits the bed or your battery is low, bring it to Ryder Riding Mower Service, where we only fix riding mowers. If you can't bring it to Ryder, he'll fix it on site for a modified fee. Tip not included. Ride in style with Ryder's Mower Service. Free blade adjustments with each call. This is an interesting one. New sponsor. I love this one. Stoned Mason Wall Construction Company is the most creative of all stone wall construction companies in the area. We don't do straight, so if it's a straight, plumb, and level stone wall you're seeking, call someone else to build your stone wall. We will dismantle your straight stone wall, built centuries ago, and we will create something that your neighbors will comment on each time they bicycle past your property. Every wall is customized and built to invite folks and critters to enter your property. Stoned Mason Wall Construction Company motto is, "Aren't there enough walls already preventing people from really knowing one another?" Additionally, with Stoned Wall Construction, you can count on a happy crew of stoned masons at your property each and every day. We provide reduced rates for homeowners that want to participate, particularly those that grow good buds. That's Stoned Mason Wall Construction Company. I love it. Visit Stan's Ice Cream Shop for dogs. Let me say that again. Visit Stan's Ice Cream Shop for dogs. Are you the type of person that provides everything that your dog ever wants, including ice cream? Come to Stan's Doggy Ice Cream Shop for a doggy cone. Favorite flavors include liver pate, burger and bun butter cream, liquid kibble, and soft serve turkey trot twist. Bring your own bowl. Bacon waffle cones are $6 extra, no bowl necessary. Ashland, are you aware of any of these ice cream shops other than Stan's anywhere else in the world?
No, I know that you can buy dog ice cream in the supermarket, like, packaged. But no, I have never seen anywhere else a fresh ice cream place for dogs.
I think we should hear some music and then a wave. It's very hot in this hot box today. Again, it's extremely hot. It's actually dangerously hot. We have ice cubes, ice packs around our heads. Oh my goodness. So we're gonna have to foot the bill for the air conditioning. We did have I think a sponsor that suggested that they come down. I think they're too busy and fix this issue. Anyway. The first piece is, I promised you something about a coffee shop. It's called Inattention, Attention. And this one's, once again, written by moi. I don't think it needs any more introduction than that.
Let's hear it.
Okay, rock and roll. Ron crossed the street unaware of traffic, nearly struck by a car that honked aggressively as it passed. Ron could feel the anger in the driver's honk. It was the last thing he needed. He was distracted by a woman. That was an occurrence every day, but this day it was a particular woman that looked a lot like a person he had dated when he was still whole. He half walked, half ran down the sidewalk to catch up with her. Since the incident, running had become an issue. His balance was affected by the loss of his left arm. It had been 15 months since it happened, and he hadn't accepted the loss fully. He was able to say the right phrases while in the VA hospital to get himself released from the psychiatric wing, and ultimately he said enough of the right stuff to produce, or procure a VA-assisted apartment. But the pain remained in his stump, located above his elbow, from where the shell fragment separated from his limb, reminding him of other pain that may never go away. Ron studied her walk, the length of her legs, her red hair. It seemed different. It wasn't her, he was nearly sure, but he continued to follow her into the coffee shop. The woman has a red satchel with her containing a loose laptop that shuffled as she walked to the counter and stopped jiggling when she rested the heavy bag on the counter. Can I have a mocha latte with no cream and a pinch of cinnamon and a pinch of cayenne? She asked without confidence. Of course. You can have a mocha latte with no cream and a pinch of cinnamon and a pinch of cayenne. We're in the please the customer business. You can have whatever you want, the barista responded, nearly gruffly, as if he'd come across this misuse of language 100 times before, and he was fed up with the improper use of the word can. Ron didn't miss the barista's disrespect, and as the woman shifted to the waiting area, he approached the counter with a mission. What can I get you? The barista asked in a disinterested manner. I would like you to brew a new pot of Ethiopian blue, not the beans from the brown bag with the brown label from Ethiopia. I would prefer the blue labeled bag. I'd like the beans coarsely ground, patted dry with a paper towel to remove any harsh tannins from the bean coatings, and within 30 seconds of the removal from the paper towel, I'd like you to filter brew the coffee in a large mug. Ron looked over and noticed that the woman was smiling as he ordered. And please, don't utilize the word can when asking what I would like to be served, Ron finished, and stared at the barista for a long moment, and then moved slightly toward the waiting area. The barista suddenly and abruptly grabbed Ron's remaining functional arm and said, I can't make that order. There are others in line waiting, and we've made all the coffee we're making today. In one motion, Ron twisted his arm around the barista's and starting at the elbow and moving along the hairs of the back of his arm, he tightly made his way to the man's wrist and held it firmly, burning the hairs and skin as he moved his hands tightly on the arm as he looked the man in the eye and said, Make it a small dark roast, black. Ron looked back at his audience, realizing that his red-haired, long-legged lady wasn't the same person he'd known before the accident, but a very appreciative near admirer, as were the others in the coffee shop waiting. It seemed that the barista's smug attitude had rubbed many of them in the wrong manner, and Ron's actions were seen as heroic. Pardon me for a moment. It's very hot in this room. A man dressed in cut-off jeans, a tank top, and sandals said, Thank you for your service. With this sudden random comment, Ron looked at the space where his arm once was and assumed it was a reason for the service comment, albeit an assumption, as people living in dangerous societies and dangerous occupations can lose an arm in a number of different ways. He thought of the show, Deadliest Catch. People are always losing their fingers and toes and arms on that show. Ron looked the man over unapologetically. The man's sandals were rainbow, so Ron also made an assumption. Thank you for your service. We are all in the service of one type or another, aren't we? We're all fighting battles of some sort, Ron said, while pointing to the man's sandals and LGBTQ necklace he was wearing, explaining his comment nearly too much. Marine Corps, right? The man said. Yes, Ron responded, not understanding how this man could have known he'd served in the Marine Corps. Your tattoo on the back of your bicep, that's how I knew. It's okay, he said sympathetically. The woman with red hair received her mocha latte, gave the insulting barista $1 tip and worked her way closer to Ron and the man. Do you have any tattoos? Ron asked the man. Not that I can show you here, the man said with a certain flair that was appealing and respectful, but Ron wondered if there was implied intent. The woman with red hair approached and almost entered the circle of space between the two men. I just want to say, she hesitates, that guy has been disrespectful for as long as I've been coming here, and you stood up to him and just thank you. Me too. Same. I'm so grateful, the man with the sandals interjected. Can we all just sit down, Ron asked. Since I lost my arm, my legs have to take over, and they're like a person's eyes that have lost their hearing. They take more responsibility, so they're tired easily. Ron finished with a smile. Really? Really? The man said as he shuffled over to the table with 4 chairs. Not really, Frank. He wasn't serious, the woman said. Oh, you know one another. How is that? Ron asked as the seat scraped and the wooden floor, making a racket. The coffee shop. We all know one another. It's community, Frank said. My name is Ron Theobald. Yours? Ron asked. Frank. My name is Frank Germain. Thank you, Frank. But your name? Ron asked while pointing at the woman as she jostled her bag, attempting to settle the laptop to an acceptable... Rose, she said. Well, Rose? That's a fine name. Do you find that people stop to smell you when they learn your name? Ron laughed from within at his own joke. Not a good habit. That's good. Very good. You have a way with words, Ron Theobald. I like you, Frank said. The barista stood over Ron with a cup of hot black coffee. He oddly sucked his teeth, making a sound as the air and spit passed through. He was clearly nervous. Your small black coffee, dark roast, sir. Hope I haven't offended you. It wasn't my intent, he said, the coffee shaking and spilling slightly. You didn't offend me, but you offended this woman here, seated at my table, Ron said quickly and succinctly. It wasn't my... He didn't finish. And me too, Frank responded loudly for all to hear. Me. Not today, but in the past, definitely me too, a woman in the corner seated, knitting, and quietly she said aloud. Many of the patrons stood up and denounced the barista's behavior. The barista removed his smock and threw it violently on the counter. He tipped over 4 potted plants, shattering the clay pots and sending soil in a million different directions. The patrons responded by surrounding him, effectively shoving him out the door as he yelled, You bunch of motherfuckers. I quit. Make your own fucking coffee. The patrons broke out in raucous laugh. Frank shook hands with the members of the crowd with his only hand, his left hand, as if he were a politician. Rose edged closer to Ron on his empty side and leaned in to speak in his ear and said, Do you like flowers? I love flowers, Ron responded. Have you been to the botanical garden in Bronx in New York City? She asked. No, Ron said. I don't know why. I just met you, but for some reason, I'd like to bring you. To smell the roses, I presume, Ron responded. Yep, to smell the roses. We'll do that. We'll do some of that, she said. I'd love to go with you to the Bronx Botanical Gardens, Rose, Ron said. And he could feel the smile forming, at first from the corners of his eyes and then to the corners of his mouth, and he couldn't stop himself as his joy unapologetically turned to tears, and he cried. Rose intuitively knew the reason for these tears, and gently held Ron's hand. And that's the end. Inattention, attention.
Another nice one, James.
Oh, nice. I don't like nice.
I in the beginning, I was reminded of when he grabbed his arm and you said something about like burned the hairs. You remember those Indian sunburns we used to give each other as kids?
Oh, we didn't call them that, though. We had to use a more appropriate term.
Back then, we used that inappropriate term.
That's true.
I don't even know where that comes from, but
yes,
basically grab onto somebody's forearm and rub really hard back and forth.
Yeah, we were always attributing something negative to the native populations back then. We didn't know any better. I'm sorry. And also about the summer thing in the fall, right? The Native American summer. That was, I don't know. Maybe it's a more relative to the country of India, which is very warm, right? Indian summer?
I don't know. I think these are things we need to do some research on.
Oh, we don't do research. We know that, right?
But yeah, I liked your how there was sort of a community in the story. Every coffee shop has its own little community of people, and you can look at the various Catunquit coffee shops, and they're totally like that.
Yes, absolutely. Piece of Tranquility, for instance. There's a vibe going on there. I do really enjoy the Italian language with the barista. He's not the barista. He's the baker. And I do that. I do enjoy. We go in there. We talk in Italian, and I don't know that much Italian. I've been to Italy once, and it was my responsibility in the relationship between Eva and I to have that language mastered, and I had about 50 words by the end of the trip. So, but she thought I was quite eloquent about how I went about my conversations. It was all a mystery. I was pretend Italian for 2 weeks. But what do you think? At what age should a child begin drinking coffee? Is it a requirement?
Is there a requirement?
In the U.S. or in other parts of the world?
No, I mean, I think kids probably do what their parents do.
Oh,
right? So if
that.
parents are smokers, kids are way more likely to become smokers. And if parents drink a lot of coffee, kids will drink coffee.
All right.
I mean, I don't know all the health implications of starting to drink coffee as a child.
But we don't do research. So I did do a little research on this, though. I did actually. The average American, at 66% of the population, drinks 3.1 cups of coffee per day. The most coffee drunk by a population is Finland, and then followed by Norway. And this is a fun fact. The ones we mentioned are among this group of 65,410 coffee shops in the USA.
I think we have a problem.
I hope they're composting all those beans.
What do coffee shops do with their beans? They probably just throw them out. Unless they're, green coffee shops, and then they'll compost them.
There's one or two that I know of in the Catunquit Island there, over the bridge. And they have, they do the composting, and they provide it to the composting company that comes by and picks it up.
Yeah, and on Catunquit Island, they have, home. Everybody has a little bin that they can leave outside to be picked up.
I find the coffee beans the most difficult to put into the bin, though, because we don't have a paper filter because we're saving the earth. So we have a standard filter that we.
So you have to bang it out.
Yeah, and then it gets all over the vessel that we put all the stuff in, and it becomes much more difficult to clean.
You could just take a nice little walk with your cup of coffee and your coffee filter with the beans and go right out to the compost.
You know that my knee is a mess, right? And I haven't been able to walk much, so I'm going to continue in my process, and I'll just put up with cleaning it more often. Although you were using water, right? So, oh boy. Okay, so I'm going to present a dilemma next. I want to throw a dilemma at you.
Okay.
And I want you to see what you would say, and then I'll tell you what happened here. This is a story of a found identification of a neighbor's kid, right? So George Cylindropoulos, he's from East Catunquit. You know George?
No, I don't.
He lives on the nub of a peninsula. It's called Flat Top. It's over in the Pierogi area, where those bumps are of
little tiny islands.
Little tiny islands. It's called the Pierogis.
And Cormorant Rock is out there?
That's right, Cormorant Rock, right. So he has that small house. It's sandwiched in between that famous singer's house and then Star Horton's house, the big one. It's over near that boatyard place.
Mm-hmm.
You know where it is, right?
Yep.
So I'm giving everybody out there an idea where it is, too. And you probably, you know him. His son is Stasius, but you don't know him. You said you don't know George, but everybody knows this guy. I'm surprised you don't.
Okay.
Because he does have a boat and he sails. So
maybe really I do know him and I just don't know his name.
True. His son Stasius is 20. He's an islander, but they don't winter anywhere like the neighbors do. They're always around. So my friend Chris and his friend Derek, they're walking along, and they find an ID. Okay, and they note it's George's son Stasius on the picture, and they know that Stasius is 20. He's 20 years old, right?
From the ID, or they already knew he was 20.
They knew he's 20 years old, and they know that he's always lived. He's an islander, right? He's always lived in Catunquit, and they note that the ID is from Connecticut, and Stasius is 21 years old in the picture. And, it says his birth date and indicates that he's 21. So they realize it's a fake ID.
Mm-hmm.
So they contemplate what to do. And I'll tell you what they came up with, but let's talk about what to do with this piece of plastic, the picture on it. What would Ashland do if she was in this circumstance?
What would Ashland do if I found somebody's fake ID?
That's the question.
Give it back to them?
Okay. That's an interesting proposal. Okay. What about George? Would you talk to George about it? Hey, listen, Stasius
He's 20 and the ID says he's 21.
Correct.
I mean, we send these kids to war earlier than that. It doesn't worry me that much.
Interestingly enough, my friends, they said that they were going to give it to him, but not until
Wait till he was 21?
Until he actually bought them dinner. So that's a form of extortion.
Yes,
right?
I was just going to say that's extortion.
They didn't want to talk to the father, but then I identified something else. And that is that if this kid buys alcohol and then runs into another person, a car, kills himself, they own the problem because they were part of it. So I think they might want to renew their thoughts about that.
Well,
so,
they could just they could just hold on to the ID until the kid's 21 and give it back to him.
And it's fake because it's from Connecticut, and he's always been living in this state. So they knew that. So the thought here is, this is my thought, this is what I would do. I definitely would give it back to him, but it would be all cut up into pieces and just hand it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you can't use it. But I did give it back.
Well, you could just throw it out.
Could throw it out. It's an interesting question, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
It's a moral question or a moral dilemma.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do would be just to get rid of it.
I think you really put yourself in a tough position if you do give it back to him. So getting rid of it,
legally, I don't know. That's an
making some
interesting
kind
question.
of point, making some kind of point by handing it back to him in a different state, all cut up.
I kind of like the idea of waiting for his birthday, wrapping it up, and say, "I have a little birthday gift for you."
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. That's an outstanding idea. So you have the good ideas, and I was thinking also that, not telling the father. Yeah, probably not. The whole idea that someone that is 18 isn't permitted to drink alcohol and they're permitted to go to war is, I think that no one should be permitted to go to the service of the country until they're 21. Let's work it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason that alcohol is permitted until they're 21 must have some kind of database behind it. More kids 18 to 21 get killed or kill other people with cars or with alcohol.
Well, I mean, if we were going to base it in science, and the latest thinking is that the frontal lobe is not fully developed until you're around 30 now. It's their latest thought.
64 for me.
Maybe no one should drink until they're 30.
Okay,
31.
I'm up for that. It'd save a lot of lives. There would probably be a lot more marijuana use than there already is. All right, we're going to hear trumpets. Okay, Ashland, I've got one for you. Is it bullshit or is it not? That's this section of our show where we present a scenario and you can determine whether it's bullshit or not. And this one comes right out of the history books and the child fable books as well. Is it bullshit or not? Parts of the age-old tale, Jack and the Beanstalk, are real. In 1672, an English farmer living on his farm in the Isle of Wight attempted to grow the tallest beanstalk ever recorded. He constructed a scaffold structure above his composted manure pile that stood 118 feet high. He'd grown some beanstalks to a height of 20 feet in the past, but his goal was to support the stalk structure with scaffolding in order to secure the stalk with at first twine, and as the beanstalk grew, with hemp rope secured from a shipwreck that occurred the winter prior on the coast of the island. The stalk grew to a height of 109 feet, or 33 meters approximately, and people came to view the giant beanstalk from throughout Great Britain. On a cloudy and fog-riddled day, which happens often on the coast of the island, the top of the beanstalk and structure seemed to be entering the clouds. A visitor, Joseph Jacobs, reinforced the fable while viewing the structure and stalk on a particularly foggy day, and revived the thousands of year-old story in a book form, thus bringing the story to life for generations to come. Bullshit or not?
I would like to say that that's true, but I'm feeling like saying bullshit.
Well, you're right. It is bullshit. Except that a fellow by the name Jacobs, was it Josh Jacobs? He did write a story that was, became the book form of the 1,000-year-old fable about the Jack and the Beanstalk. So that was my story for this week, that we do the bullshit or not. Do you have one? You want to?
I do, but before we get on to that, I can imagine you sitting around looking at your garden and like amazed at about how tall your beanstalks are. Looking up, seeing the clouds, and letting your mind wander to create that story.
Have you ever ventured off of Catunquit and gone to the Washington County Fair? I believe it's in my list of things for the summer to do. I think we actually have a date for that, Eva and I.
I haven't been in years, but I have been in the past.
Let's bring Stuart or Ricky, I don't care. And we could go, I do care, I like Stuart better than Ricky. But anyway, Stuart and I and you and Eva, we could be doing this, we could get on the whirly, well, no. Eva gets, she can't stand on a dock. She gets verklempt. So perhaps we should not go on all the rides, but we could,
We could eat fried food and watch the animals.
Music is always good.
Yeah?
Yeah. You just have to watch out for some political signs occasionally, that can infuriate us. Anyway, we're moving along. And you have what was your question? Did you have a question in there?
No, I was just I commented on.
Oh, yeah.
Imagining you writing Jack and the Beanstalk. No, so my bullshit or not is, so it was Shark Week. Was it last week or the week before?
Every week is Shark Week in Catunquit.
And actually last night somebody told me that, the lunch driver down at Catunquit Marine told me that she was sailing out by Menemsha and saw a hammerhead shark.
Oh, my. Yeah,
That's pretty exciting.
That's big. I have to say a quick story on that, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
As a fisherman, I was 11 years old working on a lobster boat. And occasionally we would, catch bluefish on the way home. It was like captains really did understand that I was just a kid and I would like to catch fish if I see the birds working. This time we headed over and there were 12 mako sharks thrashing the bluefish.
That's exciting.
It was great. It was really great.
Was that up in the bay?
Yeah, it was on Green Hill Beach. Over near off of Prudence Island. Yeah.
Wow.
Not far from Catunquit, by the way. It's just you could see it. Mm-hmm. So that was one occasion. There was another occasion when I was diving. I was diving for clams. It was like 3 or 4 times, and there was a shark. Yeah, it was a small, I think perhaps tiger shark, but I didn't dive much after that. I don't have the. I didn't have the. I'm too social a person to be underwater for 4 hours.
Well, 4 hours is a long time to be diving.
Shallow water.
My first shark experience was as a kid, probably, 5 years old or something. And, actually, probably my first shark experience was catching a shark. But
is this a story for bullshit or not?
No, this is a true story. So we were sailing, my parents, my sister and I believe my grandmother. And all of a sudden, in like a 18-foot day sailor, all of a sudden, sharks were swimming around the boat. Yes. And everybody was super nervous about it because, they were probably about 6 feet long. And
6 feet. You were just kids, then you were probably 3 feet, 4 feet.
Oh yeah, so I'm petrified, and everybody else got super quiet, except for my little sister, there's like a little cuddy cabin on the day sailor, who's just down there playing and laughing and making all this noise. And it was like when you see in the movie where they have to smother the child to save everybody because the kid is it's crying or something, but she was just playing. And that was what went through my mind. We have to shut her up because, everybody may not have been as scared as I was, but I was convinced that if the sharks heard this noise, they were coming for us.
Very, very interesting story. My gosh. So was there any truth to the idea that, if you make noise in your boat, that they're going to whack the boat?
I'm sure that's not the case.
Was it a wooden boat or? It
was a fiberglass.
They don't like to eat fiberglass, according to the
I was a little kid, so I was like, okay, I know what sharks are. I know that we get called out of the water when there's shark sighted. So,
did your father say to your mother the year was 1945, Mrs. Hooper?
No.
We are coming across the Sea of Japan, delivering the Avon to the independence, Japanese so come up with us with a hole in her say, 1,100 men went in the water, Mr. Hoover.
That's a great movie.
116 men survived.
This leads right into my bullshit or not
so
question.
You don't have to talk to me about your shark bites. That's the best part of them. I have to talk to me about your shark bites.
So my question actually is, it's not a question, but I'm going to tell you this, and you're going to say, is it bullshit or not? That the book Jaws, which,
Robert Benchley.
Peter Benchley.
Robert assisted on it.
His
brother.
Who wrote the book, and then it became the film that we all know. That it was based on a series of shark attacks back in 1916 in New Jersey. And, I don't know if you know the story, but the details are there was 4 shark attacks, one down on the Jersey shore down south. The second one also, I believe, down pretty far down south. And then the last couple of shark attacks were in the Matawan River, which is a muddy kind of creek, and kids used to go and swim in there to cool off and so on, and you can't see anything because it's muddy and brackish.
Where's Matawan?
It's in New Jersey where that, if New Jersey kind of looks like a head, it's where that inlet is, near the Raritan River.
It's good clamming.
A little bit south of the Raritan River. Anyway, and there were more than one attack in that creek. Anyway, horrific things. 4 people died overall. Shark bit one guy's both his legs off, and he bled out. And I think one of the kids that was attacked, they managed to save. So
this is the true thing?
So this all happened in 1916, and
Benchley read this and then decided that this was the story?
Is that?
I thought it was, he went to a party out on Martha's Vineyard, and, it was a beach party, and he got a little drunk, and there was, somebody that he was fondly interested in, and she started running, taking off her clothes and running to the water, and then he followed her, and which is sort of a natural thing to do, unless you're, weird. And then the shark happened when she went out in the water. I thought that was what it was. No, I just made that up.
I was going to say, I never heard that story.
Okay, so Benchley wrote this book. That's cool.
Loosely based on these attacks in New Jersey. Is that bullshit or not?
Oh, so this is the segment called "Is It Bullshit or Not?"
Well, that's what you were asking me. Did I have one?
Because I thought you prefaced that by saying this is not the story. This is the real thing, and I'm going to say that's bullshit.
No. The story, the sharks around the boat when I was a kid is true.
Okay. So I'm going to say that is not true, and that's bullshit.
So it is true, but for years that was the belief. In fact, the New York Times wrote an article about those attacks, and it was a really good and exciting kind of article. And then they had to print a retraction a couple of days later because he said that, everybody thinks that, but that's not the case. So he just, even though he was from New Jersey, he frequented beaches up in Massachusetts, and he just, in talking to a lifeguard or something about sharks, that was the start of it, and there were some shark attacks up in Massachusetts.
Cool. Okay,
but there is a really interesting
it's true.
book about all those attacks in New Jersey, which you might want to read.
I think I'm 0 for 7 on these BSs.
No, but you said it was bullshit.
Oh.
And it was bullshit.
Okay.
But it was a widely held belief that it was based on that.
All right. Oh, I get it. Okay. Phew. Very good, AC. Nice stuff.
AC. I wish we had AC.
Bum, 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 bum. Well, oftentimes we do a little storytelling, but I wanted to do a new little addition to our program here. And Eva was suggesting that, by the way, we have a day where we record on the street, a day in the street in Catunquit with the Catunquitonins, and do a walkabout, when it's cooler. Perhaps, so people won't be so surly. But we could visit with people on the street and go visit maybe the coffee houses, perhaps. So I thought it was a good idea. But anyway, the word of the day. The word of the day, it might have been yesterday, but the word of the day, otiose. Otiose. And that's O-T-I-O-S-E. Otiose is a word typically used to describe something that serves no real useful purpose. So, for example, the new zoning regulations rendered their proposal for the empty lot otiose. There you have that. So, if you didn't know that, now you do. Try to use that word today
well,
in your
I have
discussions.
to take out my Scrabble board and use it.
It doesn't have a lot of points.
But, sometimes.
I have a neighbor who is her name is Devi, Devi, and it's always tough to get rid of the V. And Devi is a word.
Mm-hmm.
I think it means some sort of Indian from India, princess or person of high
Nobility.
position. Yes. And there you have that. So great word for Scrabble, just OTOs and Devi. Do you have a difficulty getting rid of the V if you have a V? I don't like the V. I like an X. Ooh, I love the X.
I don't have a particular problem with the V.
What? Vine, Devi now.
Ova.
Oh, Ovam. Okay, the first is a story, a little bit of story. I was going to tell you a little story, so rather than have a written story, I thought just tell a story. But I don't know. Do you have a story you want to tell?
No, I think I've done enough storytelling.
Okay. Well, in 1983, I was in the fishing industry, as I've alluded to many times, and specifically the clam fishery. And I had an assistant that worked for me. They're known as pickers, and that picker's name was JR. And we had a group of friends, and some of them were from Long Island. Now, there was an influxion? What's the word? Infiltration of folks from immigration from Long Island to the clam industry in Rhode Island because there was this boom of clams, and suddenly there were 2,000 or 3,000 clam fishermen in the region. It was an exciting time to be a clam fisherman. 1983, Reagan had become president. Like there's a real inflation issue that we're having, and there wasn't a lot of jobs available. So it was a natural for me just to go back to fishing after I finished my college degree, and I could do writing. And at the time, I was doing some stand-up comedy, believe it or not, which was fun. I enjoyed that all around New England. And but my days were filled clam fishing, and then sometimes the nights were pretty raucous with some of these fishermen. So we had 4 fellas that we hung a lot together. One was named Cags, the other was Barker, and then King. And King was somewhat older than us, maybe 10 years. Burly man, huge guy, the bluest eyes you'd ever see, like a blondish hair, always wore overalls. But in the summer, not often wearing a T-shirt, but if he went out, he'd had his favorite overalls if he was going to go out at night. And Barker was one of the best fishermen ever. He had the best boat. His boat was a boat that was like a 21-foot whaler, which was like the best boat on the bay as far as like fishing. It was a fishing platform essentially, but it was set up like a pleasure boat, and he kept it spotless, and he had a 300 horsepower engine, so the thing screamed. He loved speed, and he worked so hard. He liked to have nice toys. And Cags is former football player, played rugby, gregarious guy, interesting man, told the best stories, wonderful guy. So JR's my assistant, and he's only 15 years old, right? So we all decide that we're going to go, we want to go to Newport, but it's never a direct route with fishermen. So we decided we'd all grab a 6-pack of beer and then go on Barker's boat across the bay to East Greenwich. And we took Barker's boat to East Greenwich, and we had dinner, and, we had a few cocktails at dinner as well. And then we got on the boat, and we're traveling across the bay and having a good time. But the boat is flying across the bay. And there's a place called Halfway Rock that's between Hope Island and Prudence Island, southern tip of Prudence Island. And you have to know where that is, or you can wreck your boat. And that night, as we're passing, we can hear a boat rack up on that island. And immediately there was like cop boats there and everything. We just knew it was being taken care of, so we kept going. So that's the kind of night it is. It's we're pretty lit up. We've got plenty of food, plenty of drinks. And as fishermen do, we get to Newport, and there's no place, we're not going to pay for a dock space. So we just tie up onto the fishing boats right there, right? So, we have this sort of mint-looking whaler with the hint of being a fishing boat tied off on some fisherman's, 60-foot dragger, or lobster boat, I don't even know. So we climb up onto the docking and get ourselves into the one of these clubs. And I believe at the time, the famous singer from Jamestown owned this place. It's music, drinks, of course, and we're having a good time. And we're at the bar, and the lights start flickering, so that means that they want to sell another drink. So, we got to get another drink before the end of the night. And, we're up there dancing and all that stuff. But then we all ordered drinks, and King only drank Jamaican coffee for some reason. He didn't drink alcohol, but Jamaican coffee actually has alcohol in it, so I'm not sure why he thought that was okay. But it was stimulating anyway. So, big burly guy, right? And the bartender gives us the drinks, and then the lights come on immediately. So that's the trick. They get the last $20 out of everybody. So immediately the bouncer comes over. So we're all sitting there with our drinks, and the bouncer says, "You got to go," and everybody just blew him off. He came back again. And he's like this, maybe 6 feet tall, but kind of skinny college kid. So the bouncer comes over, "You're going to have to leave now." And he gives us the now. So King says, he's pointing over to Cags. Now, Cags is as big as a house. He's a strong, powerful man. Played linebacker, so you can imagine his power. But kind of a gentle guy, ultimately. King says, he takes out the money. There's like a little front pouch in those overalls. Takes out this big wad of money, puts it on the table, and he says to the bouncer, he says, in a Long Island accent, "I'll give you $1,000 if you can throw that guy out of the bar." And the kid, and he's like this little kid, essentially 20 years old, and he looks over, and he's 21 years old, and he looks over at Cags, and he looks over at King, and I wasn't small at the time, and Barker, and he says, "Drink up." So we cast off and take a late night and unadvised trip to Block Island, where we thought we could get breakfast at any hour of the night, and we ended up at home at 6. So that was the story of a little story from a different era. I can't even.
The old
I
days.
can't stay up past 8 o'clock.
Yeah, imagine if you did all that now.
I know. Work all day and then go out in the evening. I mean, I have to save up. I think we got home at 12:45 pretty recently from a concert. We went out and saw Dylan, Bob Dylan, who it was nice to see him, but it would have been better to just have him to come out and shake hands and play some songs and not sing. Willie Nelson wasn't there, but his son showed up, which was nice. That was really good. And but Robert Plant and, is their name Allison Krauss?
Yeah, they're good. Very good.
He can sing, and she's a wonderful singer. So that was great. And there was a woman by the name of Cerise who was really good. So great concert up at was it called Great Woods? Or
It's not called Great Woods anymore.
Infosys or something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's the center up there, and we had a great time. But home at 12:45. It's like it was another day. Well, we were in it. We actually.
You're like, oh
went
my
from
God,
one day
it's
to the
after midnight.
It was amazing. We paid extra for the parking where you can kind of just split right away. Yeah. $60, but it was worth it. Shout-outs and murmurs from PSA section here, which you like to call it shout-outs, from a fellow by the name of Dave, who responded to our Catunquit Chronicles at gmail.com. So we have this from James. No,
Dave.
And this is the real deal, because this is nothing fake about this, gang. I'm not bullshitting anyone here. This is what Dave wrote. It's quite lengthy. He was very inspired. This is very nice. Thank you, James and Ashland, for the podcast. It was like being invited into a circle of fond friends, telling stories, being good-natured and slightly cheeky. James' 2 prose pieces had a lot to say about men. One about the young man's wonder at the inscrutable life force persisting in dissipated life and body of an older man. Another about father and son trying to relate to each other across their varied experiences. There's that touch of longing as the boy moves slightly closer to his father on the front seat of the Impala, but not too close. The father, having been in war, needing release and inspired by his son's recurring dream, takes a risk, risking them both while somehow also teaching a lesson. When the sun shines down in such a way on a singular half-frozen low tide, after the sharing of relevant night vision, it's time to take action, break out, force life to transcend mundanity. I was reading some Joseph Campbell a few weeks ago, and he observes that almost all ancient human societies, coming-of-age rituals for girls, are simple and tied to menstruation and motherhood. Okay, Mr. Campbell. Girls have nothing to prove as their power and belonging are manifest. This is boys, on the other hand, almost always have to endure some kind of trial, a dangerous solitary hunt, for example, to provide they have something to to offer the group. Women can create life. That's true. Men can assert our wills, show bravery in the face of absurd risk, and pass our acceptance of his role obediently to the next generation. It's as if men inherently know how replaceable and expendable we are, so we need to leave our mark to self-legitimize even at great risk. A stunt like what the father pulled is like a modern coming-of-age ritual, a trial of sheer gumption, a remark in the face of an absurd universe. Though I'm inclined to be philosophical, I blame this little foray fully on the Catunquit Chronicles podcast. I also have a couple important questions. Number 1, do snotsicles come in different flavors? Very funny. Not in reference to Frank's Windows service, where on Catunquit would one find lip service? If to them, it sounds like an inviting proposition. Looking forward to the next episode. Dave. I thought that was a lovely response with a lot of
he took a lot of inspiration from the podcast.
Which is inspiring for us to go on and create these things. So thank you very much, Dave, for that. And I think that was long enough, so we're not doing more of those. A quick shout-out of my own, though. Alexi's daughter, we've talked a lot about Alexi the sailor. Alexi's daughter, Emily, is going to the Olympics and rowing for the Team USA at the end of the month.
Yeah, super exciting.
Hooray, go Team
Get
USA.
your Peacock subscription so you can watch. It's not like the old days when you could watch the Olympics on network television for free. You got to pay for it.
Our daughter was born during the Olympics, an Olympic year in February, and we just were able to watch it, but now we'd have to pay some money.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
But yes.
I think I cut you off. I'm sorry, Ashland. I was thinking as I was hitting the button that you were going to
I was just going to give another shout out for Emily.
It's such an achievement just to be a member of the team, and they have a legitimate chance of getting
a medal, yeah.
and it's wonderful. So let's go. Pull it all together and rock that Olympics. We'll be watching whether it adds another $50 to my $250 bill
of
for television.
Various television subscriptions.
I just haven't mastered that. Pull out of the television prescription thing. All right, so today is National Blank Day. We're going to do National Blank Day at this moment. You'll love this one because you're in this game. Social Media Day. So that's good. That was the other day, but we can remember to celebrate that.
Should we celebrate social media?
I'm not too crazy about it myself, but I know other people like it. Mm-hmm. It goes back to inattention, right?
Yeah.
I think people get too wrapped up in that. I know that people are. Some people do this like rationing of it. I thought that was a good idea, like 30 minutes a day. And certain
or they go on, like you have, no shave November or something like that, or alcohol free. I can't remember the slogan for that. February.
Yeah.
People are also doing that with social media, where they'll just delete all their apps for a month.
I like it. I like it a lot. Let's get out of the doghouse day. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't care about that one.
It's a strange one.
National Gummy Worm Day. These are all real, presented on the internet. These are national days that someone came up with. National Gummy Worm Day. So
did you bring me some gummy worms?
Anything that has a worm in it, I'm getting straying away from. I like this day. Tapioca Day.
I like tapioca as well.
Something strange about its flavor, too. I like the flavor. It's mostly sugar and vanilla, right? But there's something about the texture of it.
Yeah, we used to, my mother would make it with the big tapioca balls.
Yeah.
And when we were kids, for some reason, we called it baseball pudding.
Yeah. Oh, good. That's a great line. National I Love Horses Day. That's good. For those that love horses, it's wonderful. Give Something Away Day. That it's proven. If you give things away, and like I say, give them away. Give something of value away. It releases endorphins. There are people that give things to. You may be visiting someone, and then you realize in the back of your truck there's stuff that they wanted to get rid of. And they have a dumpster out in front of their house, but they put the stuff in your car for some reason. And, it's usually pretty good stuff that was meaningful to them, so they wanted to pass it on, but they just don't want it in their house, right?
Yeah, but even if you're throwing things away or recycling them, I bet that releases endorphins too. Just cleaning up your house.
Yes. Give it away, throw it away. It makes you feel better. Yes. Eva does a lot of that. Sometimes I have to monitor what's being thrown away because... my silver dollar collection, really shouldn't be thrown away. Pet Fire Safety Day. Pet Fire Safety Day. And I'm not even sure what that is, but I guess teaching your dog to not light matches, good idea. Teach your dog not to turn over the lantern when you're.
Or are you teaching them to, what is this thing, drop and roll?
They do that naturally. Yeah, that's good. Yes, stop, drop, and roll.
Stop, drop, and roll, yes.
I had an occasion where I had to utilize that with a neighbor. Yeah.
You had to make them stop, drop, and roll, or they caused a fire and you had to stop, drop, and roll?
Tackle, drop, and roll. Yeah. Too much fluid on the fire. Yeah. All right. Tonight, a little different goodbye tonight. I think we should pay tribute to our friend who passed, Bill Withers. When I say friend, only through music, and he was everybody's friend. I don't know if you know Bill Withers, but you'll know this song, Ain't No Sunshine. And, it's about leaving, right? So I'm going to attempt to sing this song, and I know, Bill, sorry, but I'm going to do my best. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and she's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. Wonder this time where she's gone. Wonder if she's gone to stay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. This house just ain't no home. Anytime she goes away. And I know, 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 I know, I know, and I know. Hey, I thought to leave you young thing alone, but there ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Oh, ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
That's a great song.
Oh, it is. Oh. So we are going to have to go, but it's been a lot of fun hanging out today. And hey, the shark thing, that was really fun to visit, talk about sharks. Perhaps we should go a little further with that.
Yeah, I think there's lots of sea life we could discuss.
Well, the introduction of a lot of seals. They rehab the seals and they put the seals into the water, and then the seals
And
track
the sharks, yeah.
It's just a wonderful thing. Okay. Oh, did that lock? Oh, no. I left my sheet music in there, and that bottle of sugary soda. Oh, no.
I'll take care of it, James. See you later.
Bye.